All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to episode 61 of Mogg Monday. This is going to be a very, very special episode. A little bit different than usual, as I will not be playing Goblins today. I'll be observing Goblins. Now, kind of a double dose here. My CoolStuffInc.com video is me playing Goblins this week. So we got a double dose here. And very, very exciting weekend. Autumn Burchett, one of the best players in the world, one of my favorite players personally, took Goblins all the way to the finals of the Zendikar Rising Championship yesterday. And in a moment of great foresight for myself, I recorded my cool stuff video on Friday, saw Autumn's deck, thought it was awesome, played it for my cool stuff video, obviously not knowing how they were going to do, and look for that one today. I picked well. So today we're going to be going over some of Autumn's matches from the tournament, a match from the Swiss, a match from top 8, and then a match from the finals. And full disclosure, I had a very busy weekend. Been working on the Christmas tree and stuff. I was playing in the SG Tour PTQ yesterday. So the only match that I've seen completely in full, not just like popping in on, was the finals, which is the last match we're going to do. So our first two matches we're going to watch, I am seeing essentially for the first time, like really watching them and analyzing them. So I'm going to be going through, analyzing the gameplay. We have Autumn Burchett versus Autumn Burchett in the Swiss. Autumn is playing blue-white Azorius Auras in Historic. And then Autumn versus Andrea Mengucci in top 8. And Andrea was playing a Euro control deck. So that's going to be really exciting. We'll just jump right in. So we're going to go over the matches. And there's a special treat at the end. Wait for it. We're going to have Autumn on for an interview. I am pumped. You should be too. I'm sure Autumn is exhausted from a super, super long weekend of playing Magic. But we're going to have Autumn on for, 15-minute interview at the end of the show. I have questions from my stream subs to ask, as well as my own personal questions. We're just going to hear Autumn's thoughts on the deck and the tournament, and Autumn's thoughts on Magic, which I'm very, very excited to hear. But let's get to the analysis here. So we're going to get right in, and we'll be watching these matches at 2x speed. So kind of going through them pretty quickly. I'll be pausing if I need to stop for any interesting spots, things like that. And our first match is against Autumn Burchett. Autumn, one of the hottest players in the game as well. So big match here. Autumn playing Azorius Auras. Let's jump right in.
Exact same situation. That is so cool.
So Autumn's opener,
Unreal.
not too good here. Yeah, Shadow Skull, Mind Stone, not a lot going on.
I
guess turn the audio off. Hold on, sorry. Don't need to be hearing Marshall and Paul. So Autumn takes a mulligan to 6. Snoop, Chieftain, and 4 lands reasonable. Now, it was an open decklist tournament, so Autumn knows what they're playing against here. Every decklist is public on an online event like this. Kind of different than a usual event. Usual paper events you don't know. That's part of like the interesting, intrigue of like you sit down, you play against your opponent. They have a cool one-of. We don't really know. So definitely a little bit different. And Austin takes a mulligan to 4. So Autumn's hand, pretty great here. Snoop. This matchup's kind of this is going really, really fast. Maybe we'll do 1.5x.
Yeah, I mean,
what do y'all think? If you do 1.5x, 2x is really fast. Maybe we'll do 1.5x.
To essentially draw 3 cards. 1 off the draw step, 1 from playing stake.
And definitely a bit of a race matchup. So the Auras deck, Goblins can't really interact. So Goblins kind of has the muxes and go fast. Snoop on 2, Chieftain on 3.
Have a happy holidays, Jim.
Thanks to resub, Cardboard, appreciate that. Once the Aura deck is able to get down a very, very large lifelinker, it's hard for the Goblin deck to come back. If the lifelinker isn't evasive, you can block it, sack Skirt Prospector, things like that. But, alright, so we have triple Chieftain, Snoop, Prospector on top. Obviously, Austin on the mulligan. Ooh, is that a little Discord there, Austin? Oh, production values. On the mulligan at 4 here, Austin's a little low, but Austin has the key card here in Spirit Dancer. The Aura deck really, really wants Saram or Spirit Dancer to kind of get going. Gets Staggered Insight, gets to draw some cards, and getting the core Spirit Dancer huge in gaining life is Austin's number one concern. Herald Torn on top. So the interesting thing about Autumn's deck is Autumn is playing 2 main deck copies of Herald Torn and 2 main deck copies of Mind Stone. Mind Stone kind of speeds you up a little bit for faster Muxai, And then Herald's Horn is usually a sideboard card against grindy decks. Herald's Horn, 3-mana artifact, reduces the cost of goblins by 1, and every upkeep there's a goblin on top, you put it into your hand. So more of a grindy card, not as good in a matchup like this, but very, very good in the grindy matchups. And pretty solid beatdown draw here from Autumn. This is more, it feels more like a Muxus matchup. You know, with Goblins you have your matches that are usually Muxus matches, and then kind of like grindy beatdown matches. When you play against a control deck, can't rely on Muxus, they have counter spells and Thoughtseize and things like that. You play against a deck like Auras, usually you need the raw power of Muxus to compete with their raw power of Spirit Dancer and things like that. But this is more of just a regular beatdown draw. Conspicuous Snoop, Double Chieftain. Obviously, Austin's mulligans and hand here is not too great. A couple lands, no more Auras. And Austin's going to get in, draw their Obsession, not very good on defense. Double All Seed, another Spirit Dancer. Obsession, do you have to attack with that creature or just a creature? Or any creature, sure. So, you can see how, even though Austin mulligan to 4 this game, this matchup, sans Muxus, seems a little tough. Now we got some wings on the Spirit Dancer. Now we have a 6/8 flying Spirit Dancer. 2 all seeds on defense as well. Top card, Wily Goblin for Autumn. So, let's see here. It currently has 3 blockers. Matron on top as well. These are hard to analyze at this speed. Chieftain makes everything a 4/4.
Can't wait to see some
and there's
goblins
3
today.
blocks. 4/8. Yeah, this is just lethal. All right, so Autumn can attack here, and then the things that are blocked by All Sea can be stacked. You can't stack the Chieftains, I guess, to the Prospector, but this is just lethal anyway, so it's fine. Just 12. So, kind of a weird game. I mean, definitely predicated on Austin's mulligans here, given that it's just the beatdown draw was good enough against Auras, which often isn't. Thanks to the resub, Festive Style, appreciate that. So, go to sideboard. I'm definitely interested to see how Autumn sideboards here. So, Horns come out. As we were saying, Horns are more of like a grindy kind of card. This is definitely not a grindy matchup. And Autumn has 2 Iron Crag feats in the sideboard. The 4-mana sorcery, add 7 mana, only cast 1 spell. This is like a turbo Muxus card. This is a card that's like, I want to cast Muxus right now. It's all that matters. And a matchup like this, it is all that matters. You know, this is not a grindy matchup. This is a kill them before they get a 12/12 or Spirit Dancer and kill you. So really, really cool tech. We've seen Iron Crag feat in the main deck of some of these Goblin decks, but really, really cool for Autumn to have it in the board. Because in the main deck, it's very all in. If your opponent has a Thoughtseize or a removal spell, you really get blown out. And then you don't necessarily even need it in your main deck, you know, to win the games. But in a matchup like this, where it's a pure 100% race, having access to that is really, really cool. And you can see the swap here because the Herald's Horn is more of a grindy card. So you can kind of swap out. We don't want to grind. We just want to go big. Looks like Autumn has also brought in 4 copies of a Braid and a copy of Gem Bomb Incinerator to tag the Spirit Dance before it gets big. Although Autumn cuts the Gem Bomb. Gem Bomb is a little hard to get up to size, especially on the draw. So Austin's going to have a chance to play Auras on the Spirit Dancer before Autumn's able to Gem Bomb. So probably not going to be big enough. We might see that come back into the play though. So Austin was an all seed. Autumn's got 2 Mind Stones and a Muxus and the Iron Crag, which is perfect. So we have the nice fast draw here, and we have the Abrade for the 2-drop Aura Enhancer, which is also really important. So let's see if Autumn is gonna go for the Abrade over the Mind Stone, because if Autumn waits and risks the Saram getting too big to kill, that's too big of a risk. So Autumn needs a 3rd land to go double Mind Stone and really set up for this Muxus. So it's amusing that both Mind Stones can't cast Iron Crag feat, but all right, there's your land, perfect. So play Mind Stones, guarantee Muxus next turn off the Iron Crag. Now, Austin does have a few copies of Disdainful Stroke and counter spells in the sideboard, but not really a ton you can do about it. One of the things that Goblin struggles with is a fast clock with interaction, typically combo decks, things like that are able to pressure you aggressively and then also interact with you on the stack. So for example, like the mono blue tempo deck or whatever it's called is typically very good against Goblins because they get on the board so quickly and your big spells are hard to come online. So you go to cast your Muxus and they just Aether Gusted or whatever counter spell they might be playing. So fortunate for Autumn here, Austin does not have a Disable Stroke or an Aether Gust, some sort of counterspell in hand. And it looks like Muxus is going to come down next turn and hopefully take the game. Team Muxus here. Mike, thanks for the resub. Appreciate that. If you're sitting in, welcome to the stream. Mogg Monday. We're going over Autumn Burchett's matches from 3 matches, not all of them, from this weekend. Autumn, of course, second place in the Zendikar Rising Championship. Up a game here currently against Autumn Burchett and Azorius Auras. So we can see here how the Spirit Dancer is already an 8-10, turn 4 on the play. And we can see why having to Muxus quickly is so important. Attacking for 16 on turn 4. Autumn goes to 2. But we got the Mux Daddy rolled up. So we're going to see... Now, Autumn has an interesting choice here. Autumn doesn't need to cast the Iron Crag feat. And there are combinations of cards with Muxus involving Skirk Prospector, Krenko, where you might want to cast more spells. So there isn't really a reason to Iron Crag feat here. We can just cast Muxus and let it ride. We hit Matron, Warchief. So now we have a blocker for the huge creature, assuming that it can't get flying. If it gets flying, we can't win anyway. So Autumn goes for another copy of Goblin Matron. Interesting. Might be looking to up the Goblin count for Krenko. So we can go like Matron for 1, Matron for 1, Krenko for 2, and try and get, I guess the Mind Stones don't really make mana in that case though. Up. Well, we got pro Reddit anyway, so it didn't actually matter. All that analysis didn't really matter. Right, Corey? Right, LESV? Wendy's commercial? What? I'm trying to analyze some matches here. We're sideboarding for game 3. And Autumn has not brought the Gem Palm back in. Very, very linear from Autumn here. No grind. All Iron Crag feat, Mind Stone, Wily Goblin, just trying to get in. Looks like Autumn is considering the Gem Palm Incinerator. I don't love Gem Palm. Autumn actually cut all 4 Snoops, which is pretty interesting to me. That's a card I don't often cut, and I kind of don't really consider cutting, but it makes a lot of sense because it's more of a grindy card. And with the extra Mind Stones, there's more 2-drops, and if you kind of braid it to 2-drop also, it makes a lot of sense. So Autumn's going to keep a 2-lander here. 2 lands, 2 Braids, Chieftain, Matron, Muxus. A little risky, but double answer to Spirit Dancer. Probably hoping that, if Autumn can snag a Spirit Dancer with the Abrade, and then Austin doesn't have a second one. It's a common Boggles problem of not having a Boggle. But Autumn draws a Mind Stone, which is great. Autumn looks to be thinking here. I can't see why you wouldn't want to play Mind Stone, because there's no way Austin can play the Spirit Dancer and augment it immediately. But no, Autumn's going to say go. Okay, Autumn's much better than me. So Autumn perhaps is valuing the ability to Abrade here, draw land, play Mind Stone, and then Abrade again. But draws another Mind Stone. Okay. So now Autumn's in the same spot as last turn, where we can Mind Stone, and we can't Abrade. However, the chain of Abrade into land, Mind Stone, Abrade again is no longer possible because we only have 1 Abrade. So you can see Autumn's obviously not very thrilled about this. Drawing the land there would have been super clutch. And playing Mind Stone is riskier this turn, because now if Austin's able to play a land, it can go Spirit Dancer, pump it immediately. We're out of Abrade range. But luckily for Autumn, Austin misses the land. You can see the relief in Autumn's face. And Autumn finds the land. So now Autumn's in great shape. We get to Abrade and Mind Stone here. And set up, if we draw a land, we cast Muxus. So a little fortunate. It was fortunate on Autumn's side that Austin didn't have a land, but also unfortunate that Autumn didn't have a land. So we have land, Hushbringer, and Cartouche for Austin. And another Abrade for Autumn. We like it. Team Muxus, let's go. So huge draw for Autumn, because getting the Hushbringer off the board obviously means that the Muxus is alive again. Same with Matron. Hushbringer turns off the end of the battlefield abilities of cards like Matron and Muxus, which is devastating for the Goblin deck. And Autumn had already used 2 Abrades, and Austin had multiple pumping effects in his hand. So without Abrade that turn, this game would have been very, very difficult. So definitely a good draw there for Autumn. And now Austin's in trouble. And now Austin has hit the point of no creatures. We have the 1/1 from left over from the Cartouche. We have Lurrus hanging out too. but the options here aren't great. Austin knows that Autumn has Gem Palm in hand, so could put both auras in the 1/1, make it a 3/3. That's not great. Austin's going to attack and try and draw a card. So declining the Luris here. Declining the Luris. But going for Luris is pretty slow. Anyway, you got to tap 3, put Luris in your hand, then tap 3 and cast Luris. Then you got to do something else as well. So Autumn considers the block. Obviously, Austin's looking for help here, so denying the card draw is kind of interesting. But having the actual Goblin in play for both Gem Palm and Chieftain seems pretty big. So now we're tapped out. It's Muxus time. Ooh. Muxus. Only a single matron, but we call that one the rebuy in the business, so we get to try again next turn. And Autumn's looking and not going straight to the Muxus aisle here. Gem Bomb and Chieftain in hand. Austin is at 20. With a Mana Source, we can Krenko Chieftain. Going for Krenko. Interesting. Okay. And I guess that makes sense because if Austin plays Luris, gets back Hushbringer. I guess you have Gem Palm for Hushbringer though, right? That could stop the next Muxus, whereas Krenko and Chieftain are not affected by Hushbringer. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But we need to draw a land if we want to go Chieftain plus Krenko next turn. So a little risky. The backup plan of just like Chieftain into Incinerator is still pretty good too. And that'll attack for a pretty large chunk. Obsession here is really, really awkward because the Obsession creature has to attack or the Obsession falls off. So we're also at a real awkward spot here. Real awkward spot. What's up, Goblin Fanatic? And it is true that if Austin does go Luris Hushbringer, Autumn can't untap, Gem Bomb the Hushbringer, and Muxus. I guess you could like end step do it, but then there's also the risk of like protection spells and stuff, or All-See coming back. So going over Krenko seems pretty reasonable here. All right, so we get an All-Seed. We lose our Obsession, and Autumn draws the land, which is awesome. So now we're clear for takeoff here on Chieftain and Krenko, and no real recourse from Austin's side at the moment. So there's Chieftain. There's your Krenko. Like a boss. And we can send everything but Chieftain here. That feels pretty good. Blocks look pretty awful. The 1/1's going to have to get in front of Muxus here because Muxus is going to be huge. And then we have 14 other points of damage coming through. Looking pretty good here. I don't know the exact contents of Austin's graveyard. If there's a Spirit Dancer in there, it was there for a second. I blinked. I literally blinked as it went up. All I saw was Hushbringer. If there's a Spirit Dancer in there, which I think there is, we can play Spirit Dancer and maybe chain a few auras in a row and get the Luris into the air and gain some life. But it's gonna be tough. So, and of course, next turn, Krenko being exponential, it's going to be a lot of goblins. And a Gem Palm for basically cycling Terminate, which is pretty good too. So, looking pretty good for Autumn here. Alright, so there's Shump Block, taking a whole bunch of damage, down to 6. And I don't even know what this could be, honestly. Yeah, it's just a land anyway. But I don't know what Austin could even draw here. Spirit Dancer, Hail Mary Cartouche, I assume. And you can see here the strength of Autumn's Braids. You know, being able to just deal with that Spirit Dancer, not let that snowball start rolling. Turn 2 Spirit Dancer and turn 3 Aura is very, very hard to beat. But if the Aura's player has to redeploy Spirit Dancer, they can keep things under control. So still going here. I mean, there's still mana left over. Playing Obsession. Have a chance to pump Lurrus a little more. The Obsession is pretty awkward because we're not sure if we can attack this turn or not on Austin's side. We draw a Selfless Savior. Karn is here. And I don't see a way out here. There's no more draws. Unless Autumn wants to block with a Chieftain. But that seems ridiculous. So you just take the 4 here. I don't even see what could be drawn anyway. Because I don't have Austin's exact deck list in front of me. Autumn did. So Autumn can figure out exactly what, if there are any outs here, but I can't really fathom there are, realistically. So Autumn just takes it. Keeping Chieftain in play is just too important. El Rotato, resub, thanks so much. Arcane Flight the draw? Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reasonable way out here. There's no lifelink anymore. You could put it on like the all seed, but Eddie, new sub, what's your name away from? Thanks so much, appreciate that. Draw Saram. Yeah, I mean this game's just over. In a blaze of goblins. You love to see it. This was the first day of day 2. Autumn crushed day 1. The only 7-0 player. Eddie from Orange Beach. How's it going, my friend? Thanks for the sub. Cycle jump on. This is one of those spots where like no matter what you do, you win, but it's just kind of fun to keep going here. So, and again, if you're tuning in, welcome to the stream. My name is Jim Davis. It's Mogg Monday, episode 61. A little different today. I'm not going to be playing Goblins. I'll be going over 3 of Autumn's matches from the weekend tournament, where Autumn came in second place with Goblins, and we're going to have Autumn on the stream later for a little interview at the end of our analysis. And I am pumped about that. You should be too. Just cast and jump on. You'll love to see it. Here they come. Hold on, here they come. Watch out, Austin. The goblins will eat you up. So, Autumn takes this match to move to 8-0. Our next match we're going to watch is from the top 8 of the tournament against Andrea Mengucci. And I mean, this is going to be like 100,000 million damage here. Yeah, so, Austin just going through the motions here, going through the motions. So, that's our first match. We like that. How many times has Gem Bomb actually been cast in the entirety of Magic? I cast Gem Bomb a lot, actually. See, I remember the old Goblin deck used to play 4 Gem Bombs. So, anytime you were playing like a combo matchup, you'd cast that bad boy, for sure. Wagamoto, new sub, what's your name, where you from? Thanks so much. So, our second match against Andrea Mengucci playing 4-color mid-range. Just jump right in. Let's just jump right in. We're at 2x here. Let's get back down to a 1.5x. All right, so again, Autumn knows what they're playing against, and two-lander's a little risky, but double Wily Goblin, Prospector. As we were saying earlier, so now the Auras matchup is a Muxus matchup. The Auras matchup is all about how fast can I cast Muxus and how good can it be, because I got to overpower you. This is the complete opposite. Andrea Mengucci is playing 4-color mid-range. It's the Euro kind of grindy control deck. And here, there's Thoughtseize for Muxus. There might be Aether Gust or other counter spells, Master Removal spells. Here, we're trying nickel and dime. So, we're trying to grind advantage, draw cards. Herald's Horn's going to be huge. Great draw there. And Autumn needs to decide if Autumn is willing to sacrifice a resource, either a treasure or a goblin, to get this Herald Horn in play, which I assume that they're definitely going to do, because Herald Horn is so good. Herald Horn is also the kind of card you want to get down as soon as possible, because the longer it's in play, the more advantage you accrue. Again, Autumn has Andrea's full deck list. This is an open deck list tournament. I do not in front of me, so I don't know exactly what counter spells, Maelstrom Pulses, things like that there are, but Autumn's going for the Horn, which is great. Autumn opts to sacrifice the Wily Goblin and keep the treasure, so Master Removal won't be as impactful. Treasure's a little harder to interact with, so Andrea gets to go for the End-Step Growth Spiral. Andrea Mengucci, the Mythic Invitational Champion from PAX East a couple years ago. I do miss going to tournaments. And there's a Euro, everyone's favorite Euro. We got Nistu Shakes the World, Euros, and Krasis, all the usual stuff. Not much from interaction, though, honestly. So Herald's Horn draws a card. It's a Wily Goblin. The cool thing about Herald Torrent too is it helps you draw lands, because obviously if there's a non-land on top, you typically draw it, but no land there. So Autumn in a bit of a squeeze here. A lot of gas, but not a lot of mana to play it. Got a War Chief. Definitely can see just jamming War Chief here. Probably just getting in. The threat of Nissa looms. Andrea's hand is very threat dense and not very removal dense, which unfortunately lines up well against Autumn's draw here of having a lot of material, but not a lot of time to, not a lot of mana to put it in play. So when COVID is over, will I come to Europe? I mean, if there's an event that I would like to play in. So Autumn's going to go for Wily Goblin, sack both treasures, and play War Chief. So really, that's a big, oh wow. And then Autumn's going to go for, oh, we're not quite going, okay. So a big expenditure of resources here to get the War Chief and the Goblin in play. Again, I'm not sure what Master Removal Andrea is playing. Andrea is putting on the bear hat, which I guess is a thing. Yasharn comes to play. Yasharn, a little more of a card against sacrifice decks, but very useful against goblins because it stops you from sacrificing things. So Autumn can no longer sacrifice a goblin, a Skirk Prospector, nor a treasure. So probably a pretty heads-up play, honestly, by Autumn to get rid of the treasures now before Yasharn comes in play, because Autumn is just a nut and just insanely good at Magic. So super heads up. And now you get Cranko down with the War Chief. We get to get in. And now Andrea's hand of kind of threat-heavy removal light is looking a little rough. So the Goblins are getting in here. There's no answer right now to this Cranko. There's just a Krasis, a Nissa, a bunch of Euros. No removal, no mass removal. 2-mana Krankos are pretty nice. They are pretty nice, aren't they? And kind of interesting spot. So Autumn has gotten on the board despite the kind of mana troubles and sniffed out the Yasharn. And Andrea can go for Nissa here, but I'm not sure what you're looking for, because the first Cranko activation is good. The second one is really good. The third one ends the game, typically being exponential. So this next turn is going to be really good. There will be blockers, but all right, so attack for 3. I mean, can't imagine we're blocking here. The Bouse. Like a Bouse. And then, realistically, I mean, it's got to be pretty clear that if, to Autumn, that if Andrea's best play of his turn is play Nissa, that the shields are probably down. You know, also, any kill spell or interaction we played on Andrea's turn to kill the Cranko so it can't be untapping and doing things, or keep the Goblin count a little lower, or kill the War Chief to stop the Goblins having haste. So clearly shields are down. Andrea just says that basically by playing Euro looking at Plains. There is no Path to Exile in this format, and there is no Swords to Plowshares. 1 white mana is not going to do it. And now it's just off to the races here. We have 1 mana Goblin Matrons. We can go Goblin Matron for a Chieftain here. This is going to be a slaughter. The kind of slaughter we like here on Mogg Monday. There's your Chieftain. The hat's coming off for Andrea. We can even like, we can't sack for mana. We can play double Cranko instead. Sure, that works too. How many goblins is that? I can't count that high. Game 1 goes to Autumn. Kind of an interesting game where the control deck didn't really draw many control elements. It's funny though, because Autumn was actually set up to play a longer, grindier game. We had turned to Herald's Horn, but it ended up being kind of this weird beatdown game instead. So excellent shifting of gears there. Sniffing out the Yasharn, I always say it wrong. Yasharn also huge too. Oh god, not more ads. Oh god, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Magic Esports. They're going to do it to me, aren't they? They're going to do it to me, aren't they? Yeah, they are. We fast forward here a little bit. I don't want to skip anything. These aren't on YouTube yet, so I'm just watching the Twitch VODs. All right, so sideboarding. And let's just take a look real fast here. So Andrea's got Aether Gust, Disdainful Stroke, Essence Scatter. This is supposed to be like a bad matchup for Goblins. Although I must say, in my own playing, I tend to beat it a lot, which like doesn't really make sense because these decks often have like a bunch of Aether Gusts. They have main deck Aether Gust. They have Essence Scatter. They have Thoughtseize. But like, you just win. I don't really know like how to. You just kind of grind and like they kind of just don't have it all the time. So Andrea's got multiple Aether Gusts, Disdainful Stroke, Essence Scatter. So we can see 7 ways for Andrea to deal with a Muxus for 2 mana. So I would not be surprised to see Autumn board down on Muxus here. That's typically what I do. We're going to see what Autumn does. Board down on Muxus a bit, focus more on Herald's Horn, focus more on grinding. And Autumn has Chandra and a couple ringleaders, right? And the remaining Herald's Horns. I guess like I tend to board down on Muxus against like more aggressive counterspell decks, but I guess against them, the Thoughtseize like you're trying to want to jam all your good cards. So I can see that. You just don't necessarily want to be in a spot where your only option is to Muxus into a counterspell. But the ringleaders are great, the horns are great. I guess I don't see anything else on the board I really want. Interesting that Autumn is cutting all the Wily Goblins, but leaving in all the Prospectors. Whereas usually I do the opposite. Usually I leave in one Prospector and I cut like one Wily Goblin. I keep the rest of the Wily Goblins because the Wily Goblins make the material without having to sacrifice. I don't want to sacrifice into a counterspell. Interesting. It's definitely interesting to see what Autumn's doing different than me because Autumn's realistically probably right. All right, so look at our hands here, and good hand for Andrea. Double counterspell, double spiral. Autumn's got a couple lands. War Chief Matron, reasonable. Why cut a Fatal Push? Realistically, a lot of the important Goblin cards cost 3. So that Revolt's a little hard to actually kill something you want to kill with Push. And it's a little more about just controlling the flow. 1-for-1 removal is not very good against Goblin Ringleader. So, like, you want to control the bigger cards, not necessarily try and 1-for-1. So, Mindstone, Growth Spiral. Interesting here that Autumn chooses to hide the Phyrexian Tower and take 3 damage off of Shatter Skull to try and conceal the Tower. Tower is very sneaky because Tower can offer you a Muxus when it's unexpected. So you might be able to Muxus on a turn where your opponent doesn't think you can Muxus. So you can kind of like sneak it in a turn early. So hiding a Tower is pretty useful. Here comes Yasharn on turn 3 though, which is definitely tough against a hand of Skirk Prospector, Mindstone, and Phyrexian Tower. So definitely a little difficult here. This is going to be an interesting game. Yasharn is good against Goblins because it turns off a lot of these small elements. And it's also just big. It can block and it can attack. So having a 4/4 body in play kind of stops the small ball beatdown plan of Goblins. You know, your plan is Goblins against removal spell decks and counter spell decks is to kind of like get in the board, nickel and dime, getting a few points here, make him react to you so you can resolve a Ringleader, getting a few more points, make him react to you, you can resolve Muxus. Having a 4/4 in play makes that difficult. So, I mean, so Andrea just like jams the Yasharn, not leaving up Stroke or Gust. Because there really isn't anything crazy that Autumn can play this turn. The worst thing would be Ringleader, but Autumn only has 2. And getting the 4/4 in play is a huge game. Now Andrea's going to make all the land drops going forward. Andrea picked up a Cry here and an Eliminate. So Andrea's hand seems really, really good. If Autumn wins this game, I'll be very, very impressed. Because right now Andrea has basically everything. Double counterspell answers, has the master removal spell to mop up the creatures, has a spot removal spell to deal with the follow-up chieftain. There's your Cry. No counterspell up though. So can't get Muxus here. And if Autumn had Ringleader, probably would have resolved last turn. So good read from Andrea. And kind of at the spot here because we have Autumn's got a couple lands, Chieftain, Matron. Can't play both of them. Chieftain getting in for 2 is fine, but the pressure's also on here. Because the thing is that if you give the Goblin deck time, the Goblin deck will keep clawing away and grinding away and drawing cards and kind of getting there. But by having a threat in play, this Yasharn to pressure, Autumn only has so much time. So it kind of forces the issue for Autumn, and that'll force the issue into Andrea's removal, into Andrea's counterspells. So here's Chieftain saying go. Got that Mind Stone up. We can't sacrifice it, unfortunately, because of Yasharn. And then another Growth Spiral, some more lands. And Andrea doesn't have much besides the Yasharn, but 2 counter spells and our removal spell is pretty good. There's the Matron. I mean, this ain't too bad. We can, like, Matron here for something, Matron for something, kind of, like, try and get things going. So Andrea is eyeing the Aether Gust to put this Matron on top. And, kind of interesting. I mean, Autumn is probably playing the second Matron and shuffle it away anyway. So just a trade there. And I think there's only one Disdainful Stroke in Andrea's list, so hard to play around that exactly. I mean, Autumn's going to be looking for things like Aether Gust, possibly Essence Scatter. What's the Matron going for? We're in the Muxus aisle. We're shopping for Muxus. It's tough. This is kind of what I was saying, where you don't necessarily want your only thing available to be a Mux into a counterspell. But at this point, Autumn is so far behind, it probably needs to be Muxus, so you just kind of need to go for it. And the good news is also, when your opponent's primary method of interaction with Muxus is Aether Gust, as long as you don't die, you can just play it again next turn and just put it on top. So, I believe Andrea had 2 Essence Scatter and 1 Disdainful Stroke. So, getting Muxus here is fine against Aether Gust because we're not dead yet. Autumn considering blocks. Autumn's going to go for the block at 9. I can see at 8 for sure, because you don't want to put yourself in a spot where you're dead to a removal spell. But at 9, this is pretty interesting, because Autumn can take 2 more hits from this Yasharn. Alright, so we draw land. We're going to Mux here and get Disdainful Stroked. And then we're going to be playing off the top. Yeah, definitely a bad beat. You can see Autumn's not thrilled. I don't think Autumn didn't necessarily see that coming, but there's a spot where you're just like, you kind of just have to do it. You don't really have a choice. Oh,
it's Lightning Helix!
Let's do this. Back-to-back jacks. The Thoughtseize bug. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Andrea, not happy. Not happy. Part of the power of having great cards in your deck, you know? You just play 6 mana cards as you win the game. You get to draw it sometimes. It's Thoughtseize bug. Thoughtseize bug in action. Can't cast Thoughtseize. Your opponent will always draw a good card. So we get Chiefs in here, and I'm pretty sure this is lethal. I guess Andrea has the Eliminate, but... So Autumn's trying to figure out if there's a way to play around a kill spell here. The second haste effect, though, is it lethal? Oh, it's funny because now, if we hadn't blocked earlier, we'd be at 1, and therefore a swing back could actually get us here. Autumn's too good. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We are 1 short here. So if Andrea eliminates the Chieftain in combat in response to the Muxus trigger, we're looking at 1 short, but Autumn's at 5 and can survive the hit. So as long as Andrea does not draw a Nissa who shakes the world. Well, I'll just be hitting the old dusty trail here. Oh. Man. Back to back. One good rip deserves another. Was the play from Andrea to eliminate War Chief in response to the Matron trigger? Then Autumn just gets a different card, right? Whew. Whew. Game 3, though. Game 3, Autumn on the play. That was quite a game, too, because things were going very well for Andrea. Then the Muxus turned it all around, so pretty wild, pretty wild. You can see here once again on Andrea's list, 4 Gust, 1 Stroke, 2 Scatter. Only Mass Removal is 3 Extinction Event and 1 Cry, which is a little light actually. So Autumn can be a little more aggressive, and then Extinction Event is easier to play around because you can obviously try and limit your odds and evens. So what's up, 101? How's it going, my friend? Yeah, if you missed it, next time there's a commercial break, I'll show. Me, Nicole, and John were decorating the Christmas tree last night, and we watched the entire finals. We were cheering for Muxus and Autumn, and I recorded a little fun video of us cheering. I'll show that one the next time is a commercial break. All right, so final hands for game 3. Autumn's got a tough one here. Not a great hand. Mindstone, Chieftain. The stone replaces itself, but Chieftain is good. Autumn's going to keep. Now, it's not a great hand, but I really hate mulliganing against Thoughtseize decks. And like just having your lands and having your mana allows you to just draw Matron, draw Muxus, you know. You can't... Andrea's not going to apply that much pressure. So, what's up, Sporks? Draw Matron. It's a good draw. We're gonna have a Thoughtseize here. Andrea also picks up a Scatter. So, Andrea's got a pretty good spread here. We have a Thoughtseize, we have a push for an early creature, and we have the Scatter. So, but I like to keep from Autumn here. I know I think there was some talk on Twitter about this. I kind of missed it, but I like to keep. You know, big draw. We also have we have Herald Torn as a big draw too. The old Thoughtseize bug. You Thoughtseize your opponent and they draw a good card. Yes, Scooter, absolutely correct. Best place to have Herald Torn on top of your deck, not in your hand. Now we're just rolling. So we picked up a Krenko off our draw step and a Ringleader off our Herald Torn, maybe in the opposite order, whatever. And huge game here. There's a Chieftain. Now, options here are to Krenko or Ringleader. I like Krenkoing here a lot. So, it might get scattered, but that's fine. The Horn gave it to you for free, and now the more important card, Ringleader, has a better chance of resolving, because Andrea can't allow Krenko to resolve. It's just too devastating. So, I love playing Krenko there over Ringleader and valuing the cards over the threat. So, the Horn misses, which is fine. 3 mana up for Andrea. No cards known in hand. A couple kill spells. And Autumn here is deciding, do I want to cast Ringleader or not? I think you got to cast Ringleader here. We have the Mind Stone to draw if it gets countered. We have Herald Torn ready to go. I don't want to get stuck with a bunch of cards in my hand. I want to just jam, I think. Let's see what Autumn thinks. There's your Ringleader. Andrea looks upset because he's not in a good spot. Herald Torn is just so good. And Andrea has very few ways, if any, to remove from the battlefield. And it's just so good. Then we got a Snoop, too. We got Mux Daddy. This is a great spot for Autumn to be in because we have a good board presence and Muxus in hand as our backup plan. So Andrea wants to play Extinction Event. Oh, my God. Krenko on top, too. Woo! Eliminated Chieftain. And the funny part is, so Andrea couldn't have eliminated the Chieftain in response to knowing Krenko was there. He'd have to do it in response to the Snoop coming into play. But you kind of want to kill the Snoop because Snoop's the card advantage card. So, max punish there from Manguchi. Draws a Thoughtseize, but, I mean, we're just dead here, right? Like, we have Fatal Push for the Snoop. We're not going to push the Snoop? Why? What else are we going to do? Pack it up. All right, let's go. Crazy match there. And honestly, fairly indicative of... I love Autumn, like, emoting. Autumn just loves to show emotion. It's great. So, kind of honestly indicative of my experience against Sultai a lot. They just have all these cards against you, and it just feels like you just still win a lot of the time. Like, it's supposed to be like a bad matchup, but... And then Herald Torn is huge. You saw how good Herald Torn was that game. Just actually unbelievably good. So really, really good. So we're going to go to our third match here. And again, I want to remind everyone this is Mogg Monday, a show where we play Goblins every Monday. I'm not playing Goblins today. Today we're analyzing Goblins. Although, I want to remind everyone real quick. CoolStuffInc.com. Of course. CoolStuffInc.com. Look at this. How smart am I? Friday, I'm like, I'm going to record my cool stuff video. What should I play? We're missing it'll fix it. What should I play? I played 6 matches. And, all right, because there's a false start. How about I'll play Autumn's deck? Autumn's pretty good. The deck seems really cool. I'm sure Autumn will do good this weekend. And there you go. So if you want to see me playing Autumn's deck, look for my coolstuffinc.com video. Go to coolstuffinc.com, check it out, and we'll check that one out for sure. So let's get to our final match here, and then after our final match, we're actually going to have Autumn as a guest on Mogg Monday, which I'm super pumped about. Raise your hand in chat if you're pumped to have Autumn as a guest. Let's talk to Autumn about the tournament and some questions from our audience as well we're going to ask. But first, let's watch the finals, the last match. The last match. We watched this one last night while we were decorating the tree. And we just missed a little too quick here, a little too quick. So this is the finals. Blue-white control. Blue-white control against Goblins. This is the second match. Brad is already up a match in best of 3 matches. Brad playing blue-white control. And Autumn, I missed the 7-card hand for the mulligan, but mulligans to a tough 6 here. You got to make your land drops in control decks. You really got to again, this is a small ball matchup. You know, the Ors matchup, all about Muxus. This is very similar to the Sultai matchup where our goal is to kind of small ball, get some early shots in, get some damage in, force the control player to tap some lands, try and resolve Muxus, try and resolve Ringleader. So, this is the 4th time Autumn played Bradley. I know Bradley was undefeated, so, in Historic. So, we got Wily Goblin, we got Mindstone, we got Matrons. Playing Goblin and Sensor seems fine here. And, Bradley on a 2-lander here. Spikes the 3rd land. I guess there's some cycling cards. It's pretty risky. Pretty risky. And now Autumn has a choice of playing Mindstone or playing Matron. It's got to be Matron here. Because if you draw a land next turn, you can Mindstone and Matron. So here's your Matron. Of course, Bradley drew the main deck Aether Gust. Bradley has 1 main deck Aether Gust, 2 main deck Gravedigger's Cages. And that's not cool. I do also love blue-white control decks. Me and Teferi are friends, but not right now. Not right now. So Autumn chooses to go for a Goblin Chieftain. Going kind of in front of the aggressive threat. Again, it's not a Muxus matchup. This is more of a nickel and dime matchup. I think getting War Chief's also interesting because the cost reduction is pretty valuable given the kind of clunkiness of our hand. But Chieftain attacks better. Pressures Planeswalkers better. Kind of like it. Kind of like it. Brad draws the Gravedigger's Cage. Plays Narset. So now Narset's going to look. We can't see what we're looking for because why show us that? It doesn't seem important. Wrath of God and a Cage. So really, really fantastic start here for Brad. And Autumn, unfortunately, does not have land 4. And Autumn's got a War Chief, got Chieftain, Mindstone. Autumn gets to kill the Narset. Unfortunately, there's another Narset waiting. Of course, Autumn knows about the Wrath of God. So this is a tough spot because, like I said, you really got to develop your mana so you can kind of play your cards, keep things going. If you fall too far behind, the control deck gets to set up. Counter spells are up. Planeswalkers come into play. So Brad draws land number 5 here. And now we have Narset and Aether Gust, or we can Wrath, or we can Narset and Baffling End. Although, of course, Bradley knows about the Chieftain in hand, so that Baffling End and Narset play a little risky. Another Mind Stone. Another Mind Stone. Definitely a tough spot here because we're playing Matron and we're not applying enough pressure to the board because we just can't. There's not enough mana to double spell. You know, you got to be able to develop yourself against these control decks. So Autumn already down a card, down a few lands here. Tough start to game 1 of the second finals match. And there's your Narset. Narset's got to look. Yes, I kind of agree, Spork. So when we were watching his match, I was talking me and Nicole were watching me and Nicole both play Goblins, obviously. And I think I would have liked Double Mindstone there. The problem is, Double Mindstone, it adds to your mana, but they're Mindstones, not Fire Diamonds. So we'd have 3 colorless and 2 red. That almost doesn't help cast spells anyway, unless you draw another red source. So my gut definitely says just develop your mana for this turn, just suck it up and understand so you can double spell next turn. But Autumn decides to go for the Matron. And now an Aether Gust on a Chieftain puts Autumn in a tough spot because you want the Chieftain, but you got to make land drops too. So if that Phyrexian Tower was a mountain, Autumn would be in much better shape here. I think probably would have gone for the Double Mind Stone. It's tough. It's tough. Very, very difficult spot. Very, very a very good draw from Brad and a very awkward draw from Autumn here in this game one. Brad's drawn his main deck sideboard cards, good curve for creatures, Wrath of God, Narset, another Wrath of God. Finds Teferi. Oh man, this is brutal. I'm not sure why the player cams aren't on. Weren't the player cams on? I think we watched this last night. The player cams were on, weren't they? Maybe they weren't. I don't know. So Autumn gets to play Chieftain and pop the Teferi down to 1, but that Wrath of God looms, unfortunately. And now we're in big trouble. So now Bradley's got the Wrath of God. We've got Aether Gust. We have, Stroke. We have Censor. We have Teferi. We have Cage. This is tough. But now they're on. I knew they were on when we were watching, I feel like. So, find land number 4. A little late here. We have to Mind Stone and play Matron. And I imagine it's going to get censored. And yeah, this is pretty bad place to be. The problem is that your hope in this spot for Autumn is just like, all right. Oh my god, double, back-to-back absorbs too. Oh man. Oof. This game's disgusting. Your hope for Autumn is that Brad just doesn't have a counterspell and you can just jam Muxus and hope it sticks, but the Cage also looms as well. So this game is just pretty over. Autumn's gonna Muxus here just as a 4/4 because the Cage is obviously in play, and Brad agrees. Just gonna stroke it. I mean, double absorb backup as well. Wrath of God, double baffling end. Brad was so stoic. The feed could have been on a loop. Yeah, probably. So another land, another Mind Stone, and this is just really, really tough. Autumn, I don't think has any way to deal with a main deck Cage. So his Muxus are just stuck being 4/4s. Very, very tough game here. Very, very tough game. Brad's deck did seem good. I do like control deck, and it seemed like it was pretty well built. Search for Escanta. Oh my god. Oh no. I don't think there's a main deck Crater Maker. Autumn's deck is very linear in game ones. So, main deck Grafdigger's Cage coming into play here. Another mountain. Draw off Mind Stone. Herald's Horn's good, but I imagine this will eat and absorb. At this point, Brad knows that something big needs to happen for Autumn to get back into this game, and Herald's Horn is the way to do that. Herald's Horn is like, if 4 turns go by and Autumn draws 4 extra goblins, maybe they can do it. But 1 card a turn off the top of the deck and can't Muxus is not going to beat tokens every turn, Teferi, Escanta every turn. Now we're in the standard hellscape of Teferi, Escanta, double activations per turn. And if you ever put standard against or with this control deck, that's the end. That's the end, typically. Autumn draws another mountain, and then draws off Mind Stone, Castle Emberth. At some point during watching the finals, we're sitting on the couch, me, Nicole, and John. And John yells, "Is that mountain regulation size or what?" When Autumn draws like the 5th mountain in a row. And I look at him and I'm like, what? He's like, I don't know. You know what I mean. It's pretty funny. All right, so this game is obviously pretty over, unfortunately. Definitely a combination of a good start from Brad, multiple main deck sideboard cards, and a rough start for Autumn. Mulligans, missed land drops, the old screw into flood game. Just a tough game. There's not really the tools to navigate, unfortunately. It's gonna pop there, isn't it? So yeah, game's pretty over, unfortunately. I mean, the second Grafdigger's Cage gets discarded. Have I ever done Penny Dreadful Goblins? No. I have not played Penny Dreadful ever. So, yeah, I mean. So, rough first game there. And it's especially frustrating for Autumn that to lose the first game of a match in the finals to Aether Gust and Grafdigger's Cage. Because I'm sure that's not what Autumn signed up for. Borg, new sub, what's anywhere you're from? Thanks so much. Definitely tough. And, you know, props to Brad. Definitely, you know, big metagame choices pay off. And now I gotta watch some ads. So let's watch. This is Nicole, John, and I, and we're watching the. We're rooting on Autumn here. I think we see this game. This might be a spoiler for the next game. But Jack, Minnesota. New sub. What's up? Spell shift. Sweet.
Here it comes.
John has a perfect little all right at the end of the thing, too. So follow me on Twitter, of course. And I'm waiting for these ads here. Make sure you follow me on the YouTubes as well. Check out Mogg Monday. We play Goblins every single Monday. This is episode 61. The first episode of Mogg Monday where I'm not playing Goblins. Of course, we are analyzing Autumn's matches here. We'll have Autumn on in a little bit. Pretty soon, actually. Which is going to be really, really fun. And also my CoolStuffInc.com video again today. If you want to see me playing Autumn's deck for some bonus Mogg Monday content, well, here it is. It'll be up shortly. The video is just not up yet for some reason. So just give it a second. It's just I got the some of the information in pretty late because I wanted to try and get the full information of a tournament in. So look for that as well. But then follow me on Twitter, follow me on the old YouTubes, and check out the sponsors. ColosApparel.shop. Colos Apparel. Check out the shirts. Get your pile driver shirt. Promo code Jim10, 10% off your order. Super comfortable. Show your Moggs. Also the new Mogg Root Water shirt and the new Godfather shirt. A lot of Goblin themed shirts on Colos. Colos Apparel. Promo code Jim10, 10% off your order. There it is. The Godfather. Check it out. All right. Let's get back to our game here. Assuming that we want to go here. 101 says, got a couple of their shirts. They're actually really nice. Yeah, they're super, super comfortable. Super nice. They're nice and light and airy. And the designs are fun. That's the important part. It's the important part. All right. We're looking at deck lists. Let's look at a match. Let's look at a match. There we go. All right, so back to the action. Sideboarding here, and I sure would like to catch that. And just back up a tiny bit. All right, so let's take a peek at the sideboarding here. So Autumn bringing in Cratermaker, the other two Herald Torns, the Ringleaders, the Chandra, the Trashmaster. Again, trying to go a little more grindy. Autumn's also cutting a Muxus. Like I was saying, if your opponent's relying on counterspells, you don't want to be in a spot where you're only playing as Muxus. You want to be able to have different plays. So Autumn goes down to Muxus, which I like a lot. Again, Autumn shaving the Wily Goblins and leaving in the Prospectors. That really interests me because I feel like the Wily Goblin leaving a 1/1 in play and it's still getting the mana is pretty nice. And then Brad's got Gust, 2 Strokes, Essence Scatter, a Shatter, and 4 Wraths. Nothing really crazy here. It's actually interesting. Brad is boarding out a Grafdigger's Cage, possibly assuming that Autumn is going to be boarding down on Muxus. That seems crazy though, because Cage also answers Snoop, and Snoop's like Dark Confidant against a blue-white control deck. So, all right, so game 2, let's go. Autumn looking to come back here, and Autumn's got a pretty good hand, focused entirely on Herald's Horn, and Brad does have the sensor, so. No play on 2, which gives Brad free reign to get Censor up. And now Autumn's in a tough spot because Autumn is very, very well aware that Brad has multiple Censors in the deck. But you can't play nothing here. And every option costs 3. It's really, really hard to do nothing this turn. So, but playing in a Censor also kind of sucks. But Autumn, I believe, plays in a Censor here. Picks the card that is like good but not the most important. Most important cards are Herald Torns by like a lot. But if Brad doesn't have the Censor, Chieftain Resolving is very, very good. So worth a shot. I like that. Fire out the Horn. Brad's got to have Absorb here, and does, but Autumn has another horn, so kind of forcing Brad to have it on every street here. Now the Fear is cast out, because if the horn gets answered by cast out, now we're in big trouble. But here comes the horn, and can't have it every time, Brad. You can't have it every time. Brad's hand, not too great here. A couple lands to Ferry. Cycle farmland, draw another land. Herald's Horn resolves, which is fantastic. Pay 3 life, and jam the Matron. Jamming Matron into a possible censor there, but it resolved very fast. I think that's a little bit of a tell from Arena. And Autumn's got an interesting choice here. What aisle of the Goblin store are we going to go shopping on? We're going to go on Muxus aisle. Want to go down Snoop Plaza. We do have a Krenko in our hand, so we are definitely interested in a haste effect, Goblin Chieftain, or War Chief. War Chief, not nearly as necessary because there's a horn in play. Ringleader is also pretty great too, because if you can get the board big enough where Brad has to Wrath, you could probably resolve Ringleader and get more cards. This is an interesting one. We have Krenko, we have Prospector. I think given that the Herald's Horn is going to be difficult to remove for Brad, and also providing the cards, going for Chieftain here is pretty reasonable. Chieftain's also very good against possible Teferi, which Brad has. So now Autumn has a better shot at taking down Teferi, which is kind of huge. And Brad's hand here, 4 lands Teferi, and I don't feel bad at all. Top card Snoop off of Herald's Horn, fantastic. And now we can just Chieftain Muxus here, honestly, if you're really feeling it. How many? Brad's got 2 mana up. That does fall to a censor though. So we'll see how safe Autumn wants to play it here. Tough spot because you kind of want to snoop after. So Autumn plays a Prospector. I think the play here, what Autumn's trying to do is, we can play Muxus. I'm sorry, we can play Krenko by sacking a Matron and still have mana up to pay for Censor with sacking Prospector. Or we can just jam with the 6 we have right now and just kill Teferi, which is also fine. It would require an Aether Gust to break this up and keep Teferi alive. We definitely really want to kill Teferi of his turn, but we're also trying to balance that against playing out a Wrath. And again, we see Brad's hand here. We see 4 lands Teferi. Autumn can't see that. You know, Autumn has to be aware there could be Wrath of God, Censor, Absorb, Aether Gust, Essence Scatter, so many different cards that could be there. So Autumn goes to the attack. No Aether Gust. You can see the relief on Autumn's face there, because if there's an Aether Gust there to break up that attack and untap with Teferi, that is huge for Brad. So Brad plays land, says go, draws Shark Typhoon, declines the Teferi because it wants to get a Shark in play to play some defense, and Autumn spikes a War Chief off the horn, which is great. And now we're ready to rock and roll. Now I think put some stuff in play. Obviously Autumn very aware of the possibility of Shark Typhoon, so like weird kind of spot where like we can play our spells pre-combat and try and make less mana for Shark Typhoon but get countered, or we can play things after combat and see. Right, so that resolves in Autumn. You can see the expression on Autumn's face. It's kind of cool actually for these online tournaments, because normally at the actual table the players wouldn't be emotive because your opponent can see you, so you can't really emote. But being able to see the players' reactions, I mean, I guess Autumn's reaction is not Brad's, because Brad doesn't react at all. See the reactions. You can see kind of what we're talking about as far as like the gameplay, the importance of things. You can see how important each play is based on Autumn's reaction. So Autumn did not expect that Krenko to resolve. That was kind of a test spell. A test spell with a very high upside if it did resolve. But it resolving basically just screams Brad has Shark Typhoon. Because what else could Brad have? It's either nothing or Shark Typhoon. And if it's nothing, great. We're winning anyway. So wise attack here. Leads back Chieftain to play around Shark Typhoon. So we still get in for 10, which is a huge bop. And plenty of cards behind as well. So great shape here for Autumn. And a Hollow Fountain off the top. And get in for a solid 10. Putting Brad down to 13. And plenty of gas behind. We still have the War Chief. We still have Muxus. We still have Prospector and Snoop. And Brad spikes the Wrath. Now, looks lucky here that Brad drew this Wrath, right? But the reality is that Brad's got a bunch of cards and they're all lands. So Brad could have just had the Wrath too. So just, while drawing the Wrath there is probably fortunate, given the lightness on spells. Right, so Autumn doesn't even flinch because Autumn probably just assumed that he had the Wrath to go with. So no Goblin for Herald's Horn, but we got Muxus. I think this is the Muxus turn. So this is the turn where what does Autumn want to do? We can jam Muxus. We play around Sensor. It has to be Essence Scatter, Absorb, or Aether Gust. If it's Aether Gust, Muxus goes on top. We just draw it next turn anyway. And I love just jamming here. I love it. Here's the Muxus. Here it is. There's your hits. And this is of course the moment that I spoiled in us shearing. So, and again, if there is a counterspell here, we still have War Chief, Prospector, and Snoop. So say it's like counterspell untap Teferi. We still have a haste creature to attack the Teferi. We have Snoop. We have Horn still going. Love it. Love it. Taking it to a final game here. And again, Autumn would need to win this match and the next match to win the entire thing. Brad is already up a match. No change to sideboard for either player. Big game here. Bradley on the play. Bradley on the play. All right. And Autumn's got, where'd it go? There it is. 4 lands, Mindstone, Matron, and then most importantly, Herald's Horn. So, Mindstone on 2. And sneaking in the Horn early on is definitely like a high priority. So, Shatterskull on 1. Bradley's got a couple cast outs, which is one of the few answers. One of the big things about Brad's deck is one of Autumn's best weapons against Brad is Herald's Horn. And you saw that against Manguchi, where the Herald's Horn just ran away with the game because Manguchi just couldn't kill it. The fact that Brad has 4 cast outs and those can actually answer the Horn, huge. Huge, huge, huge. So Autumn goes for it. Can play around Sensor, of course. No Essence Scatter, which is great. And now with the Horn down, we're in good shape here, right? So we can play a Crater Maker. There's some value in keeping Crater Maker to deal with the cage, but Brad only has 2. It's funny, actually, because we know, Autumn doesn't know, we know that Brad actually only has 1 cage in the deck, which is kind of weird. So Brad goes for a Shark Typhoon here, kind of Desperation Cycle, looking for land number 4. Finds it, and here's your cast out on the Herald's Horn. Can't get punished by Muxus here, unless Autumn has exactly Muxus and Phyrexian Tower. And getting this Herald's Horn off the board is pretty important. And it's also a Shadow of the Sky in hand for Brad to mop up. So if this turn goes poorly, Brad can mop up at the Wrath. So Brad's in pretty good shape here. Mostly predicated on the cast out being so good against the Herald's Horn. Just having that answer to Herald's Horn, which is usually unanswerable. What's up, Hash? How's it going, my friend? All right, so we draw a land. And play Snoop. Top card is Krenko, which is pretty good. A little weird because now we don't want to cast Matron. You can see Autumn's kind of like, oh, well, I was gonna play Matron, but I guess we'll do Muxus. So now, interesting spot. And playing Prospector is interesting here because we don't want to play into a Wrath. You know, this board is already almost wrathable. Because Krenko looms, Snoop needs to be killed. What's up, D?
Just another Mogg Monday on lockdown.
How's it go, my friend? But playing Prospector makes the Krenko activation on Autumn's upkeep much better. Autumn decides to hold here, and I kind of like that because this board is very wrathable. If you're Brad, you kind of have to Wrath here. You can't let Snoop make tokens and start drawing cards next turn. Snoop is basically like a Dark Confidant against a control deck where you can't let it sit and play and just keep drawing cards or you fall behind, and it's guaranteed 2 tokens next turn as well. So given that Brad basically has to Wrath this turn, and if Brad has it, he almost assuredly will, I kind of like Autumn here. Just chilling, not playing the Snoop. And Brad doesn't have a ton of mana right now either. Only 4 lands. The Wrath will be a tap out. Next turn we can resolve Krenko and Matron. Krenko and Prospector. You know, we can try and resolve Matron for something else. There's a lot of options we can have. So, not a great spot for Autumn. Brad does have a lot of cards in hand, and Brad was able to answer the important card. But Brad is not going to Wrath. Brad's going to say go. And great hit here. So Autumn finds a Chieftain on top. Probably the perfect card. And we don't really care if this card gets countered or dies because it's a free card. It's not a card that we're playing from our hand. It's just a card that came up atop for free. So it's basically a 0 card. If this card gets killed, it's a 0 for 1. So play with Chieftain. Now we got a great attack step here. Mindstone on top is not awesome, but that's fine. And we got some beats here. Crater Maker probably getting blocked by Shark. Autumn has to assume there's a Wrath here. You know, the Chieftain resolved also. It's pretty cool here. We get to shuffle away the Mindstone with the Matron. Get another look for maybe a Krenko, which would be super insane. But Here's your Matron. And unfortunately, this is walking into a Censor. But it's hard to play on Censor at all times. This is tough. I actually don't know if I love this here. Autumn seems the team's nonplussed about it. But the Matron does seem kind of important. And you have to assume we're getting Wrath next turn. If we get Wrath, we're just going to win the game. So, not sure. Brad goes to 10, which is definitely a decent bop. Brad cycles looking for a land. It's a Censor. Cycle's looking for a land. Shark Typhoon, and a Baffling End. So, Brad missing the land, pretty clutch for Autumn. Because as long as Brad can't make plays and leave up counterspells, Autumn is a good shot. Mind Stone, Krenko. Not much else, though. And this Prospector's hanging out. At this point, I think you gotta just cast the Prospector. Because realistically, if Krenko's answered here, the Prospector by itself isn't doing much. And I want to have Prospector in play to make more goblins with Krenko. I want to have it ready to make mana. We got Mind Stones in play. So I'm pretty happy playing Prospector here. I believe Autumn will as well. So clutch moment. Doesn't feel great to be on 0 cards against 6. But Brad is a little light on lands. Brad does find land number 5 here, which is a pretty big game. And with Cast Out, Baffling End, double Shark Typhoon, Brad's in pretty good shape here. Doesn't really have like a card advantage kind of engine to keep the cards flowing, but has a lot of answers at present, and most importantly has Muxus covered with the Stroke. Autumn's got 5 lands, 2 Mind Stones. So Autumn has redraws off the Mind Stones. And Brad's going to go for the main phase Cast Out on the Krenko. Now, Brad can do this because... I didn't stop fast enough. Brad can do this because Autumn's empty-handed. You know, and this is the spot. This is the turn where if Autumn drew Muxus, it's game over. So very, very risky. But Brad's making the play where it's like, this is going to work 92% of the time. You know, where Muxus is not going to be drawn. And you got to stop the Krenko. And if Autumn draws Muxus here and kills Brad... Okay. Sometimes your opponent's got aces, you know, so I didn't time it right. Autumn draws a mountain. Not cool. Redraw on the Mind Stone. Phyrexian Tower. I believe this is the point that John actually yelled, is that mountain regulation size or what? So, finds a Chieftain. So, not terrible. Not terrible. And now he gets Chieftain. And Brad is at 10. So, Brad goes to 6. And I'm sure that, you know, the Chieftain will be answered here. Big draw to Teferi, but Brad can't really Teferi yet. Because if Brad plays Teferi here, goes to leave up the Sinful Stroke, and Autumn draws literally any goblin that costs less than 4, Brad's dead. So, Brad's got a Baffling End, deal with this Goblin Chieftain. Now we're back down to 1 Prospector for Autumn. Brad is at 6. So, and there's Muxus. 1 turn late. 1 turn late. And at this point, Autumn, I think, basically has to jam. And I agree with their choice here. We're running out of options, and it's only getting worse as time goes on. So, has the Stroke. You can see Autumn's not happy, but not entirely surprised. And the good news is that, well, it was a Stroke, not it absorbs, didn't gain 3 life. And Brad's at 5, you know, but Castle Ardenvale Teferi, devastating. Because now Teferi is obviously going to draw a bunch of cards. And then Ardenvale actually making a few tokens here and there is going to be really, really relevant because now that Prospector can't just chip through. So, another mountain. Is that mountain regulation size or what? So, Autumn's going to fire in, attack Bradley for 1. And Brad's got a Shark Typhoon for 1. So, this kind of sucks because now Autumn has nothing in play. But as far as like closing speed goes, getting rid of a Shark Typhoon isn't that bad because it means that it's 1 less threat and gives Autumn more time. So, if Autumn has more time, maybe Bradley bricks, Autumn will draw a Muxus or 2. It's a way to possibly get back in the game. Another land. Is that mountain regulation size or what? So now we get a 5/5. So now here's the clock. Without the second Shark Typhoon, you know, Autumn would have time here. But, yeah, then you got a Vantress here. We can't see the Scry, because why would that be important? And then the Scry, and then the Teferi can drop the Scry. Another Shark Typhoon. So, Autumn's still live for a Muxus here. You know, it's not getting censored. And another Mountain. Mountain, 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 mountain. Tough. Not to say that Autumn's in a great spot here, but those last few turns could have been Muxus or Ringleader or something to kind of get back in the game. And unfortunately, they were not. And there's an Absorb. There's a Censor. Cycle Censor. There's a Teferi. And the Absorb all but locks it up because there's just no card that Autumn can draw that will beat the Absorb and the board. So, definitely tough. Definitely tough. Obviously, Brad played very well. But Smashing here, you know, better than Mountain, I suppose. Smashing can, Please Smashing can take out Shark and Teferi. But Brad has the extra Shark Typhoon in hand as well. So, Brad can just absorb this and cycle Shark Typhoon, and that's going to be it. So, still a phenomenal run from Autumn. Matchup seems kind of tough. Realistically, a lot of counter spells. The main deck Grafdigger's Cage too is just like a, you know, stab in the heart, but there's your Shark, and there's the end. So amazing run by Autumn. Brad just crushed the tournament. Honestly, Brad, there he is. I don't know if I love like the full screen face cam, and then you get the confetti here. I believe is a little. Is that it? I think that was the last match, right? Look at I appreciate the effort, I guess, but yeah. So, oh man, Magic coverage never change. So those are 3 matches. We're gonna get Autumn on and have a little interview with Autumn, which I'm super excited for. I gotta make sure that get that set up and stuff. Hey everyone, I decided to split the interview up into a separate video, so all you gotta do to continue this Mogg Monday experience is to hop on over and click that right there, and there should be a pretty cool little widget thingy, so you can click it and go to the video. Super great interview with Autumn. Definitely make sure you watch it. Autumn's phenomenal. Check it out.